How's it going? This is a haircut my mom gave me. This is my mom's work a few weeks ago. She wants me to get a haircut professionally, but I keep saying no. I think I should just have her cut my hair next time. I'll be like, I loved your haircut. So yeah, I didn't do videos, I guess, the last couple of days because I'm like really high. Like I got up and I got up and I smoked a lot of weed, and then I started working. And like, I don't know, maybe like an hour. Kind of hard to keep track. Or maybe just a half hour. Yeah, I think just a half hour. So I'm still high from that. But didn't do a video the last couple of days because like I think the last time I did a video was when I started doing the streams of Boulder County. And I was like, this could get big. So I was like, let's just like work a day and then we'll check back in and be like, just to get an idea of how long it might be, That's how I operate. I like, because I've started new little side projects. If you look on my website, all these little things are really time consuming. So many different times that, I kind of notice a pattern. So that what I do is I just like, I'll do a new thing and then I just like won't even think about how long it's going to take. I just work on it because I'm just, all I'm interested in is just like, oh wow, this is cool, like I wonder how long it's going to take, like how much can I get done the first couple of days, and I'm like thinking, on this one I'm kind of thinking too much to listen to stuff. Starting to listen to Generations by Strauss and Howe. That's I think that'll go down in history as like my favorite book, number one book of all time, I think. Like the best book ever written, I think. Which kind of motivates me, okay? See if I can take it to the next level. Like, they didn't take it to the next level. Like, they're talking about the seculum, the four generations, that the different seculum from 1500 or something till now with the four generations per one. I don't know how many generations in total that is. But, and a lot of those have actually their own Wikipedia articles, but what did they forget? Oh, right. And then they're talking about the, I guess, I can't remember what they called it, like the history diagonal. Because like at any given point in time, there's four generations alive. And every 22 years, there's a new generation. But what they failed to mention, I don't even know if they thought about it and they didn't, I don't think they didn't even write about it in their new book, Fourth Turn. Strauss didn't even write about it in his new book, The Fourth Turning, because I read that and I didn't see anything about it. But like, you can analyze the different seculum, you can analyze the different generations, but why not? And then each generation changes every 22 years, but why not analyze the different, I guess you would call it generation diagonals, He's talking about the generation diagonals, but every 22 years, it's a new generation diagonal, where each generation occupies it. One generation disappears, one generation comes into being, and then the other generations move up in one. And that's a completely different dynamic. So, different personality of the people alive. So, that would be called a new, what do you even call it? Because they never even came up with the idea. That's awfully similar to a decade. Because, like, for my for my ancient history, or my history timeline, or bi-weekly history test idea that I came up with, that I'll do whenever I'm ready, where you have to close your eyes and then the random number generator gives you any, like you can do it 80. I guess you can do it completely. If you're doing 80, I think I was having them divided between BC 80 and future or whatever, or in 20th century, but if you're doing 80, so there's 20 centuries between 0 and 2000, so random number generator, which is right there in Google. will just give you a number which corresponds to a decade. Then you have to say what you have, try to mention as many things of that decade that are on the Wikipedia article for that decade in a minute. And you do 60 of those in an hour, and then you grade yourself later, and that's how good you are at the biweekly history test. And you're supposed to do that every 2 weeks, and if you can do that, then the government pays you to ride your bike all day long. So, and of course you have to, I guess, achieve a certain level at the test too. You can't just get 0 or something. But you make it a really low level, because the important thing is that people try. Because, you're learning. Actually, there doesn't have to be a minimum level. What am I saying? There's no minimum level. Because if you just try it, you're learning. So anyway, and people get punished for getting a 0 enough by the embarrassment. So those are for decades, right? And people think in terms of decades too, like that 60s show, that 70s show, that 80s show, and then you have like Netflix, the 80s, the 90s, everybody talks about decades. So if you're going to talk about the different history diagonal, that's only double the decade. If they're making it 22 now, but with my version, because I have my own generations built into my whole history project, my timeline, I have it every 33 years. Because I'm doing it based off of father-son, parent-child, instead of sociological. So I haven't completely figured out how I'm going to kind of tie those together with my timeline, because I am plugging their whole book, their whole history book, their generations from the 1480 whatever, into my timeline. I'll do that whenever I'm done with what I'm doing on now, this Googler stuff, and might illustrate the different 22-year segments. And then that'll be independent of the parent-to-child decade, I guess, or generations, I guess. Maybe it's just separate. But then I'm going to build it on my own, though, for the ancient Rome, and I'm surprised they never did. Seems like you would. There's enough history for it. That's what I would. That's what I'm going to do. I'm glad he didn't, because I get to do it. I'm going to do one of those, the same thing. Like their generations book. Psychoanalyzing all the... It's 23 hours long. All the generations for 500-year period. I'm going to do that for Rome. So, only I think I'm going to do it with the generations lasting 33 years. And that'll make sense, because time moves by faster in the modern world than the past world anyway. You know what I mean? So, plus, like, the way that the kingdom it worked in my way of generation, Herodotus' way of generation. There were 7 kings over the course of 550 years, and that's like 33 years or something like that, or more. One guy was 41 years, one guy was 37 years. Like average, and which is the same of like parent-to-child generation, so it'll plug in well, because in ancient Rome they would have timed their generations off of whoever was king anyway, you know what I mean? So it's perfect. Kingdom of Rome is going to be easy as pie, and then I'll kind of keep it to that kind of system. For the rest of it, Herodotus used 33 years for generation in his book. When he went to Sais, Egypt, he was talking to the priest, and he was like, "Oh shit, oh," and they said that their temple had been going on for 363 generations, and Herodotus estimated a generation at 33 years, 3 generations a century, and so that takes it back to like 9,600 years or something. And that's from 600 BC, so like, or 10,000 years or something. Anyway, it added up. It lined up perfectly with what Plato said about when Atlantis fell, and also the Younger Dryas and all that. That's pretty cool. Anyway, So, wow, I got sidetracked for a while. But that's the book that I'm trying to listen to. But yeah, I guess having to give too much, like I'm smoking a lot, and I guess it's fucking with my short-term memory, and it's difficult for me to be able to put river inside of river. Like remember where stuff is, remember if I just copied it, or am I need to pay something, like all this stuff. If I'm listening to the book, maybe I'm too fascinated with it. So I've just been trying to listen to all the war in Ukraine and Basha Gessen show, hour and a half talk on Putin and other people talking about Putin and all that kind of stuff, and then silence and music. But I was doing that book since yesterday. I been so like what's the prognosis on my project? Prognosis is yeah, I mean, I can get, it's totally worth it. I'm not getting bored with it. But it'll take like a week, like just to organize this, I guess. But the interesting thing about this is that all of the rivers, I'm doing all the rivers and streams and ditches of Boulder County, and oh my God, like at least more than 10,000 little individual little files. I mean, they're making a goddamn joke. I don't know why they did it. I'd like to find out, but like whenever they're tracing, they got it off the government website. Whenever they're tracing the ditches, a lot of times they're just doing it in little like a section of 20 feet is a file. So like I'm trying to get one tiny little farm, and then you look over on the left of the folder and all the files in it, and it's like stretches longer than the whole page. It's like 100 files. It's like, are you making are you trying to make it like prohibitively time consuming? What the hell? Is this worth it? Because I never before would have thought that was worth it. Like the past me never would have done this. Would have thought it was crazy. But the current me is like thinking all the possibilities I can do with it, and I was like, works better, I guess. But because if I have all of the, like, I guess ditches of the flat part, I was thinking maybe I could build like a color-coded map of showing the like water table of the flats, and maybe it would look similar to how it does in the mountains. I don't know. It just seems like something interesting, but also to know where all the different ditches are. Add some more texture to my project. I might use it in the visuals and for identifying stuff. And just I've come so far, I might as well do those. But the whole reason I didn't do this section anyway wasn't for the ditches. It was for the rivers, and of which there's a lot, and that's going to be time consuming in itself. In a different way. Overall, I think more time consuming, more thinking. So, but the interesting thing about Google Earthing all of the rivers of Boulder, number one is Boulder's a perfect place to do it. But also, I grew up here, and I know like every like square inch of Boulder County, like the back of my hand. I feel like, because I've been up and down every road like multiple times, and to look at it in terms of like the water table, like counting how many the different canyons, because they go directly east from the mountains, so you can color code the water table. They're going to look like perfect like rectangles stacked right on top of each other, orderly. And then there's other ones that don't last as long, and it'll be like this language, like this, like a flag. You turn it into the flag of Boulder County, what it looks like. It'll just illustrate what it all looks like, and I'll look at it at a totally different, language. Kind of like putting on like night vision or infrared all of a sudden, at looking at something you've always looked at, like looking at your mother with x-ray vision or whatever for the first time. I don't know, like, so it's going to be cool. Totally interested in see what it looks like. Yeah, and it'll help with the conceptualization of the area because I have maps of it and so many different maps showing the same area. Like Rome built on top of Boulder County, all of the mining towns, all the mines, trains, like everything, like all the Stravas, all the trips I created from it. Future Boulder, parallel history Boulder, like everything. And so might as well throw that in. But I keep trying to talk about this though because it's the only Google Earth project that I'm working on that like overlaps with my website and computers and like other stuff, and just to see them overlap and see how it looks in my organizational way is going to be interesting because like it's the only thing where you have rivers and trees, and the only thing where you have one thing within the other, like fractally. But you can't make like Google Earth out of a tree, a river. So rivers are the only thing that's like one thing inside of the other thing inside the other thing. So like when you have a computer with folders, like folder within folder within folder, and that's how you organize stuff. That's how I always organize stuff. But like my website does it the same way, like with the way that I visually do it. Like I have like a table that's a color, and then there's another table inside of it. And you can see there's a table inside of it that's another color with its own little colors. And then the other table inside that with its own colors. It'll make more sense. It'll look better when each one has its own font, but I haven't decided what fonts to use, so I'm not going to do that yet. But I'll do that at the very end. But folder within folder, and everybody's familiar with that. And so rivers are like that. And so to organize on Google Earth, all the rivers folder within folder is going to look really interesting, and it's going to be a really good way to learn the rivers, like for the first time, even me as been here forever, I'll finally be like, oh, that river is that river, and that river's inside of that river, and that river's inside of that river, and I'll be like, memorize it, you know what I mean, and think about it when I'm riding around. It'll just bring a whole new level to understanding it. And also my website is designed that way. Like I'm trying to, and I haven't made it look good yet, so I hope it'll look good in the end, with the different fonts and stuff. But I have everything organized like that. Like all of the books from free history books on my free history book page, like Kindle and MP3. It's like, section within section within section, and like my timeline is like that, and my history books that I have on my page and everything. And so to do the rivers, I'm just super curious to see what that looks like. Oh, and also I'm going to write the information of the rivers too, because Google Earth gives you the highest elevation, lowest elevation, length, and gradient, and that'd be a really cool thing to know. I guess it'll be the same as the road, but yeah, I think that's cool. And then maybe you could even do like on the top of the page show like how much water. Yeah, maybe volume. I don't know if this thing. Yeah, it won't have that. Yeah, because they made it, and they had so they figured it out for the size for the lakes and stuff. But anyway, I can't do that with all the rivers because a lot of the rivers, like I said, they're built in sections, and you only do it if it's full. So I'll just do it with the ones with a full. But I think a lot of the rivers that are interesting that you would want to know are done in full. So just the ones that I can. Oh, actually, no, but I can do. No, I can still do it. You just the highest point of the first one, lowest point of the second one, and then you add the length together. Duh. Anyway, but it's worth it to me. I'm going to do that. Like my philosophy is, yeah, I mean, if it's just the different numbers and the numbers are color coded, even if it makes it double length, double line on the list, it's worth it. When it makes it double line, sometimes I make it like 10 down, but when it's single line, it's 20 down per column. And it's looking like these rivers are going to be 10 down, so Anyway, enough babbling. Oh my God, this is over 20 minutes. That's because I didn't do a video the last couple of days. So, yeah, I mean, I'm making good progress. I still have a lot of more time. But I mean, this is like riveting. Like this, out of all things I'm doing, this is one of the things that I'm like, can't keep myself away from. Because I'm just like, I don't know. It's just like how my mind works or is developed to work. It's like a puzzle and I'm just putting together like, is it fixed? No. Oh, that river has to go inside of that river. Fixed? No. Oh, that river has to go inside of that river. Fixed? No. Okay. Yeah, but when it's done, it's going to look really cool because then I can color code it. But yeah, this will be a long more time. Maybe 2 more weeks. But I don't care. At this point, I don't give a shit. You know, like before I was desperate to finish up to get the links for all the Googler stuff that I made. But then I come across this. And my rules, because I have rules now because I've done this long enough. My rules are, if I come across something, you know, if I'm like convinced, then I'm like, okay, wrapping it up. But then I come across the thing that I'm trying to wrap up, a thing inside of a thing, whatever, that's interesting, such as rivers and lakes, Boulder County. And it's like far enough away, it's like its own project enough, then I'll be like, okay, breaks. I can completely forget trying to wrap stuff up, and I'll be like, because I completely forgot about this. You know, I wasn't anticipating it. So I'll be like, all right, well, let's just get this up to speed, even if it takes 2 weeks. So it's kind of like, because, and this is original because it doesn't really fall inside of history of Boulder County because it's not history, it's geography. It doesn't fall under like Strava because it's not, because it's rivers, it's not roads. It doesn't fall under Boulder Rome because it's not history. It's in its own, you know, category. So I'm like, fuck it, let's just build it up, you know, because I might forget about it like I did this time, you know, like that's why my philosophy is like, you don't have to finish stuff before you start new stuff, because if you have the rule that, oh no, I'll start that when I finish this, by the time you're finished, you're not going to remember about the other thing. Like you could write the notes down and stuff, but you could lose the notes, or you could not be motivated enough, you know, because like that was a time when you were actually motivated because you were thinking about it. And if you're thinking about it, just build it up and your motivation will get you. And then when you see it again, like there'll be such a head start on it, you'll be like, it'll motivate you to keep going. So it postpones it, you know. I mean, you should only do it if you think you can finish. And I'm in a special situation. I think I can finish. So I have enough time. But yeah, so I'm just going to try to type these loose ends. This river thing is interesting. Last night, like right before I went to sleep, I put the main rivers from the mountains into the mountain folder. And then so there's this whole other like stuff I haven't processed yet, and so now I'm putting those. And it's like, what's this? Where does this need to go? And then I put it in. It's a different method than I was using before, where I was clicking it and seeing if it was missing. But yeah, so I kind of got to a new level because I got most of the big canyon rivers down in their own one, and yeah, so I got to see it for the first time. It was like really cool. Anyway, so tomorrow I'll do the video. Hopefully, oh God, I don't even know how long this will take because there's just so many of them. But yeah, so tomorrow hopefully I'll be happy with how long I'm coming through. And yeah, go Ukraine. I follow like 4 or 5 or something Instagram Ukraine Instagrams, and so I'm like looking at all of the first-hand photo, I guess, people in Ukraine who are fighting, and that's crazy, and liking on all the photos. That's like the way that I like show support. And yeah, watching. Yeah, we need to give as much. We need to just flood. We need to treat it like a war. Totally shut off Russia's oil and flood Ukraine with as much as we can afford of jets, like the good weapons, and just kick the shit out of Putin, you know. Anyway, yeah, just tell everybody that whoever's flying the jet is a Ukrainian super pilot. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.